Welcome to Teams Tuesday, a podcast about mastering the best about what other people have already figured out. Teams Tuesday focuses on insights and lessons that never expire. You will walk away from every episode with actionable insights that help you get better results and be more productive.
This was about as bizarre and easy as it gets. The client just couldn't make up their mind.
I feel like we had top.
Went from a project of 20 weeks to just 2.
The DevOps was a cultural shift.
This is Teams Tuesday with your host, Peter Ward.
It's 12:15 here in New York. Nanddeep, you're in Pune, and what time is it there in India for you?
Oh, it is almost 10:45 p.m.
Okay, thank you so much for speaking and being our guest. So let's start Teams Tuesday. And Nanddeep, you're an MVP, Office Apps and Services. How long have you been an MVP for?
I've been into this program for a couple of years. I got my first MVP in the month of March 2020. So Miss, even I did not get a chance to celebrate that with my friends and community because I just got that on 1st of March, and then just 15th or 17th of March we had got entire lockdown. So still waiting for some restriction to uplift so that I can again get back to the community in person, and then at least we can have some celebration.
I suppose online communities and real life communities is a very different experience.
Yeah, true.
All right. So tell me about your city, your family, and your hobbies and your job title.
Oh yeah, Miss. At least as I said, I'm from Pune, and then I'm living here with my parents, and then my wife and 2 years old son. So again, I will say COVID was a bit fortunate for me because I got more time with my son because since we were working from home for at least last 2 years. I got some time to watch his childhood. Otherwise, I would have missed that if I would have been in the office. So yeah, means at least that was a good part. And then I live with my sister, who is also an MVP right now. She is into the office development, Smita.
How many brothers and sisters do you have?
Oh yeah, just one sister.
Just one, and she's a Microsoft MVP as well.
Yeah, true.
So you guys should write a book together. You should write a book together on this.
Yeah, correct. Miss, at least it's like when we are at home, so we keep discussing about the SharePoint and rest of the other part. So probably without Miss, we can have a book written together.
Okay. All right. Okay. Very
And
cool.
then
And,
again, go ahead.
and who do you work for? And so, which company do you work for?
Oh, right now I work for BP, British Petroleum or Beyond Petroleum, and then I work there as a Office 365 lead because again BP is on the journey towards using Microsoft 365. They are looking into the adoption of Microsoft 365 and all of the apps and services. So
Right.
I'm just helping there with my experience. I just joined BP last 3 months. But it has been a good experience so far. Means at least they are adapting to all of those apps and services from Microsoft 365.
Okay.
So just helping them with
I'm
their
assuming
journey.
they're a big on-prem shop and they're doing that digital transformation and journey into the cloud.
Yeah, Miss, actually, fortunately in BP we don't have that scenario, but at least previous to that I worked for various other companies, and there we obviously had too much of data and too much of applications onto the on-premises, and then we were taking it to the cloud. And yeah, Miss, again it is kind of an good journey. Like all of the apps and all of the data, it cannot be taken to the cloud directly. There are some regulatory compliance as well as maybe technical restrictions. So for everyone, it is kind of an learning point of view. Even it was for me. But at least in the BP, it's like they're starting directly into the Microsoft 365. They had few services, few servers there, but not with huge data. So it was a quick migration, and then we started using Microsoft 365 directly here.
Right. Okay. What does a typical day look like for you?
Miss, at least with COVID, I will say after pandemic, I got a bit lazy. Otherwise, I used to wake up at around 6:30 in the morning. I used to spend at least hour in the gym, and then again come back, get fresh and get to the office. And then again, almost I used to be at office at around 9:30, 10 a.m. IST time, and then again catch up with the meetings with friends and colleagues and all those things, and then again get back to home at around 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. Then again spend some time with family, and then watch the TV or listen to the music, and then again maybe again go back to the sleep very early. But I will say due to the pandemic situation, since there was an entire lockdown, I'm a bit lazy now. So I wake up at around 8 in the morning, but I
Right.
go usually go late for the sleeping.
All right. Okay. No, I hear. Okay. What was
Maybe
your last?
getting again back. Oh, sorry.
All
Yeah.
right. What was your last challenging project and why?
Oh, right. Means the last challenging project was like the previous organization. We started using Microsoft Teams, and then we had various apps. Those were onto the SharePoint itself. I will say again SharePoint on premises, and then again we wanted to use those into the Microsoft Teams because those were kind of an very generic app. Like for example, just an Q&A kind of a thing. Only thing is like since it was kind of a very regulatory and compliance related organization, they didn't directly wanted to use any of the third party applications like maybe Poly or any of the other thing until they evaluate that and then go ahead with the approach.
So you had like WSPs deploy applications deployed into SharePoint on-prem,
Yeah,
and
true.
you were
That
looking
was
at Teams. So, but surely you got to redo the whole app. You got to re-engineer all the applications.
true. That was right. Because at least earlier to start with, we were kind of an 50% onto the on-premises and then into the cloud. But as we took the decision to go to the cloud, we kind of deprecated all of our info path forms and then again deprecated using those WSPs so that we will not have more of WSPs coming out in our environment. And then we slowly started moving all of our code into the SharePoint framework mostly. And
Right.
then the next step was the Microsoft Teams. So we again wanted to get all those SPFX kind of and web parts or apps into the Microsoft Teams.
Sure. I'm assuming you are replacing your InfoPath forms with Power Apps.
Yeah, true. Yeah, that's right. Because at least there are even other solutions, but InfoPath replacement is quite closer to the Power Apps. So
Okay.
yeah, we had revised everything with Power Apps.
All right. What do you think is the biggest mistake that you feel holds clients back in their results they want from SharePoint?
Yeah, Miss, at least on the biggest mistake on my side, I will say that I was working on one project and I'm a big fan of SharePoint. So irrespective of the requirement, I thought SharePoint will be the best fit for that, but probably it wasn't best fit for that. So what we did to overcome that is we utilize even the .NET framework and .NET Core kind of an platform, and then all of those SharePoint platform that we were planning to use, we hosted all of those custom functionalities in the form of web parts or apps, and then we utilize best of both SharePoint as well as with .NET framework.
Right. Okay. So, but surely you're moving into like PMP now, Fluid,
Correct.
and all of that. Okay, on that.
Yeah.
That's where it's all going basically. What's your favorite MP65 feature right now?
I like most of the features that are coming to the Microsoft Teams. The feature which I liked mostly from the Ignite announcement was this Teams Connect, because as of now the challenge which I usually face is like I'm a part of multiple organizations onto my personal tenant, so I had to keep switching those tenants and then again look out for unread kind of messages, because again we have different email IDs associated, so even I don't get notifications that too often on one email ID. So at least with Teams Connect, I'm hoping that it will be at one place for me, and then I will be able to, means I don't have to switch between those multiple organizations. Everything will be at one place for me, and then I can just look into all those messages, and then even people will not think that okay, I did not reply to them for a longer time.
Yeah.
So that is a good feature, Miss. At least I thought of. And then again, we do have those nice looking features like mesh and loop. So just hoping to work on it sooner.
Sure. Okay, so for those who don't know, what is Loop? And
Oh, surely, sure. Loop got announced just during this Microsoft Ignite 2021. So Loop is kind of a next biggest breakthrough in Microsoft 365. So it is nothing but kind of an app for communication first or AI first world kind of a thing. So with Loop, we can collaborate with our innovations from anywhere, from our email, from our chat or meeting, or even from a document. So I just had a look at the Microsoft Loop framework as such. So it has got those three core elements. So firstly, we do have there something called as Loop workspaces. So those will be kind of an shared space which will allow you and as well as your team to see and group and track everything which is important for from your project perspective.
Yeah.
And then inside those workspaces, we also have got pages which are nothing but kind of an flexible canvases and which will help you to organize all of your component, which is the third part of the loop. So loop components will help you to collaborate in the flow of your work right from workspace pages and then to the component. So
Right.
those loop components can be just list or tables or maybe just sales opportunity kind of a thing from Dynamics 365. One thing just experience with Loop is like it is nothing but previously we had Fluid framework. So when I was following, miss at least I follow PNP calls very regularly. I'm a big fan of PNP. So I do remember that somewhere maybe 1 year back there was a demo onto the Fluid framework through which how we can create those components through which we'll be able to share the live experience through SharePoint framework kind of and web parts. So that is a place where I got the first live demo of the loop, or I will say Fluid framework, but which is right now coming as a loop part.
Yep. There's another application called Notion, which is not Microsoft. So clearly Microsoft is going for this functionality for the end user, where documents are, like I said, much more fluid, where there's integration components and and they're much more dynamic with tables updating. Yeah.
Right.
So I think it's demo time. So what are you going to be demoing to us, to the attendees?
For the demo, again have the functionality of how we can use SharePoint framework apps into the Microsoft Teams. Okay, so the theme behind this is like SharePoint is almost 2 decades old. Okay, so we have been using SharePoint for almost 20 years now. And then again, we have many apps that we have created in SharePoint. I will not say in the SharePoint Online itself, but we had created too many onto the SharePoint server. And then as time went, we also upgraded them so that we also have flavor of that coming to the SharePoint Online. And then again, we do have good collaboration of SharePoint along with Microsoft Teams. So the kind of an interest of everyone is to how we can get those apps which are kind of an SPFX web part or apps in SharePoint to Microsoft Teams. So my demo is around that. So I will go ahead and share my screen.
Go for it.
Sure. Please confirm when you can see the
I
screen.
can see it. I can see
Sure.
a bit of
All right.
PowerPoint here. SharePoint framework.
Right.
It's
Yeah,
a Masala
alright.
C.
Yeah, so Ms. I know that this SharePoint framework doesn't need any introduction at this point because everyone is aware about what is SharePoint framework. But just in a nutshell, it is kind of an client-side technology or development tool through which you will be able to use modern tool chain as well as modern experiences into the modern SharePoint. So it is entirely built using the open source tool chain using Node.js, and again, you will be able to easily integrate your SharePoint data with the REST APIs. And one good thing is that it is available onto the on-premises as well. But again, we do have some kind of limitations when it comes to the on-premises flavor. But if you want to have the good experience of SharePoint framework, in that case, SharePoint Online or the cloud is the best place. Again, means SharePoint framework, even though there is a name SharePoint in the SharePoint framework, but it is not just limited to SharePoint. We do have SharePoint framework existing into Microsoft Teams, so we can create those Teams tab, personal apps, even messaging kind extension kind of a thing. Even it can integrate well with Microsoft Graph. Even we can use them into the Power Automate. We can even create the add-ins of Outlook. And one recent thing which is coming up here now is we do have Microsoft Viva connections customly built with SharePoint framework. So quickly like this Microsoft Teams and SharePoint story. So it is like whenever we create any of the teams in the Microsoft team, in the background, it does create a SharePoint site. So if it is just the normal team, it will create site called as /sites or maybe /team based on your configuration, and then the name of the team, and there will be a shared documents and everything that you will be able to see. So in short, whenever there is a Microsoft Teams, there will be a SharePoint site in the background, and the demo is based on that itself. So before I just go there, just a quick introduction, like how we can extend our SPFX solutions to Microsoft Teams. So firstly, that we can create our Teams tab with SPFX. Our entire SPFX web part can be hosted as a Teams tab, and that functionality came in with the SPFX version of 1.8. Similarly, we are able to host now all those SPFX apps as the personal app, which you can see here, starting with SPFX 1.10. Then later on, again, there was a functionality of how we can create the messaging extensions. So messaging extensions are nothing but whenever we open up the chat window at the bottom of the Teams, there are a few icons. Once you click on that, probably it will open up a window from where you can select some option or make some more requests, and then that information will be posted onto your Teams channel or Teams chat as an adaptive card. So even that functionality was there since SPFX 1.11. The recent addition that we have got is even we are able to create the meeting app inside Microsoft Teams using SPFX. And that was with SPFX version 1.12.1. So it does support creating the meeting app experience inside Microsoft Teams using SPFX. So quickly about that meeting experience is like we can have a pre-meeting app experience. So that means something you want to have as a pre-meeting app through which you will be able to gather some information before the meeting starts. Then secondly, we do have an in-meeting experience. That means while the meeting is going on, probably you want to gather some more information from the user, or based on the pre-meeting app experience, you want to have the conversation done with your participants. And then for the post-meeting app experience, it could be something you want to share post the meeting like an MOM or any of the other part. So this demo is specifically around this pre-meeting and in-meeting app kind of an experience. So probably I can directly take you to the demo and show the demo, and we can have a quick walkthrough of the code. So right now I'm into the Microsoft Teams. So this is my calendar, and then I just have sent one invite to one of my other user in my tenant. Okay, so I do have invite here. So what I can do from here is I can open up that meeting. So this is the pre-meeting kind of an experience. So before the meeting starts, I want to have some kind of an Q&A done for that meeting. So let's say, for example, before the meeting starts, someone has got any questions, all those questions can be at one place. I know that we have this Q&A coming up right now, but when we started building this experience, there wasn't any Q&A. So probably because of Q&A, my app will not be used by anyone else. So, but yeah, so I will just, so I will just click on that. So it will just ask you to get it added to your meeting experience. Let's click on add there. And this is the experience that we will have. Just click on save, and that particular app will be added to your Microsoft Teams as this tab. And then here you will have a functionality to create a new question. So I'll just click on new question, and I will just say recording. So, and I will say these sessions being recorded. Okay. And then again, I will just save this. So what will happen is that this is just one question that I have posted here. Similarly, for example, when this user, which is another user to which I have extended this invite, even he can open up the meeting invite, and even for him or for her, there will be a meeting questionnaire app which will be shown here. And from here, that person will be able to see all of the questions being posted by other users too. Looks like some bug in my code because of which it is not able to fetch.
Live
but
demo,
at least, yeah, live demo doesn't work every time.
The question here, this is like, I'm seeing people do this, but normally when you create an invite, you're doing it from Outlook. Here, user experience for that journey, you're now creating Teams meetings in Teams.
Correct. Right. So here we are creating Teams meeting in Team itself. Otherwise, even those meetings can be created from your Outlook, but it has to be just a team meeting. But again, all of the other authoring experience can be from Teams itself, so that you can open up that team. And then again, once you open up that team, you will be able to see this plus icon. And from there, you will be able to add those apps here. So which is not directly possible from Outlook. And then as you can start using this app, so probably what will happen is that to the organizer, that organizer will be able to see all of those questionnaires before the meeting start, and then probably he or she can start addressing those questions. And again, this kind of an app can be used as a in-meeting experience as well to discuss those questions during the meeting. Okay.
Right.
So yeah, Miss, at least this was the demo I just wanted to have. And then if you want to have a quick look at the code, so this one is entirely built in.
So where did the response?
React.
Okay, so the question.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me just ask a couple of questions on this. You're doing these
Sure.
these questions are being pushed out to the attendees of the meeting, correct?
Correct. Right.
Okay, how's that been pushed out? Is that being pushed out to the chat?
No, all of these questions are stored in a SharePoint list. So
Okay.
As I said, like for each of the team, we do have got a SharePoint site. So in that SharePoint site, we are storing everything. Again, for example, if it is a channel meeting, we can directly get to that team, and in that SharePoint site connected to that team, we can store those. And for example, if it is not a team meeting or not a channel meeting, in that case, we are simply storing those onto the root or top level of SharePoint site, home site.
Okay. Where is the response of the questions?
No, Mr. Oh, no, Miss Atgist, as of now, this is just the pre-meeting kind of an experience so that everyone can keep adding their questions here. But there's no response as such. That functionality we were planning to do, but even now that we have those this new Q&A app, so just thinking of like whether to extend this one or not.
No, I understand. No, it's the agenda. That sounds good. I suppose you could always put the responses to the questions in the chat of the meeting.
Correct.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, Miss, at least this one will be just a place where everyone can record their questions related to the meeting. So it could be like where are the documents stored, or maybe something related to that meeting itself. So even the presenter will get some time to go through those meetings. He can understand the context of those, and then while he's delivering that meeting, probably he can try to cover all those questions, so that it will be a pre-meeting kind of an experience.
So you're going to show us the code, are you, for this?
Oh, yeah, sure. So this code is entirely built with SharePoint framework with React. So even you can see many React components being placed here. And then quickly, just I want to go through this manifest JSON. So this is the manifest JSON through which the entire hosting can happen. So at least one thing to note here is that we don't have supported host being given as a Teams, but at least just starting from that SPFX version 1.12.1, all of these web parts can be directly hosted as a pre-meeting app experience. So from where this one is happening is we do have a manifest JSON here. So through that manifest JSON, we can define like in what places of Microsoft Teams this web part can be hosted. So right now, here you can see that this section, which is posting this particular web part as a configurable tabs. So that's the reason whenever we click onto this plus tab, that web part appears there as a tab. And then we do have this configuration URL, which is technically it should be the same like this one. Otherwise, it will not work. So here, one thing that we need to take care is that this component ID, so which is your SPFX web part ID that we just need to put here. And all of those instructions are from Microsoft itself. And then these are the scopes, like in which scope we want to add this SPFX web part. So whether it should be in a team or in a group chat. So we can directly add that. And then we do have a context, like on what kind of a context those can run. So like channel tab or a Teams meeting chat, or maybe onto the side panel. And then we just have to give these valid domains, which are again kind of a predefined domains from Microsoft. And once it is done, our code will be ready to be hosted onto SharePoint. But again, that will run from the context of Teams meeting. Okay. And then the code perspective, it is very much simple that we just have, or we are rather using PNP here directly, because PNP is good for writing a simple code in a lesser time. So even, for example, if you have a complex requirement, we don't have to get into the technical details of how can I compose the request, how can I send the request, how can I receive the response, and then how can I process that. We just simply rely on the simple APIs from PNP, and our work is done. So even same thing we are doing here. we are just relying on to the PNP to do the heavy lifting for us to get to the SharePoint data, get the data out of it. And then we have those methods like get the questionnaires, adding the questions and another part. So add questions will be prompted whenever there will be a new question. Otherwise, it will keep on giving us all of the questions that we have here. And again, one thing here is that for each of the meeting that we host inside Microsoft Teams, that meeting has got a unique ID, which we are using to uniquely identify those records. So if the demo would have gone well, we should have been able to see the record here, which is being added by this user. But looks like some bug here. I did not revisit this code for at least some time. But and then again, we can utilize this service, which is our custom service, onto our React-based web part. And then from there, all of this UI is built with Office Fabric or those Fluent UI controls, so that this is a custom UI. This will give you same kind of a look and feel of Office 365.
Yep.
And yeah, this is how the solution is built. I know that this one is at very rapid pace. I'm not getting into much of the detail, but one good thing is that this project, this solution is a part of PNP repository itself. So you can you can directly able to read the documentation as well as access this entire code from PNP itself.
Can you send the URL? Can you put the URL in the chat, please?
Oh, sure. I will say thanks to PNP because of which we don't have to think too much onto the technical side. Probably we can just focus onto the business scenario and get our work done.
Understand. All right. This is all good stuff. Okay, so let's just wrap up this meetup. So this very quickly. What's the best and the worst technical advice you've been given?
Oh, Miss, as I said, like maybe the overuse of SharePoint, because I'm a big fan of SharePoint, so I try to adjust the SharePoint era everywhere. So probably onto the few of the cases where ASP.NET could have been the better solution. I have given the SharePoint solution, and then we ended up creating just the web parts who are surfacing the .NET code. So that was the biggest mistake, I will say.
Yes. Where do you want to be in 5 years?
Only thing is like Mish, I haven't thought too much onto that part, but I want to continue with my technical contributions and I want to grow into the technical area itself. So probably going to the CTO kind of an role, but maybe I'm thinking too much now.
Right. Okay. I'm assuming you have a GitHub repository.
Oh yeah, I do have it. Even I do have my personal blog, and in the Git repository means I'm contributing to the open source Microsoft projects, as well as I do have my own codes which I write. Though those are not that great code, but at least the workable solution which anyone can use. So at least I can post that in the chat window as well.
Okay, you can do it. Where do you source your knowledge for SharePoint?
Oh, right. Miss, again, Miss, I'm a big fan of PNP. So I do attend most of those calls, and if in case I don't able to attend those calls, at least I watch the recording. Because I know that I'm not that good in watching the recordings. I keep recording those URLs, but I forget to watch that. But at least as and when I get across those posts from Vesa or anyone from PNP, at least I go there and watch that in the fast forward kind of a mode so that I can get the idea. But yeah, Miss PNP is a major source, and then again, I do follow a few of the MVPs. I do read their blogs.
Which MVPs do you follow?
Mostly, I follow Andrew Connell onto the SharePoint, and then again, I do follow Waldek. Waldek has recently joined Microsoft, but even he is a good team player, and again, he is driving the CLI for Microsoft 365. So I do follow them, and again means not like just for just these two people, but again I do monitor the MVP buzz onto the Twitter. So for example, if any of the MVP posts something onto the MVP buzz hashtag, I do go there, read through it quickly, even though if it is related to Azure or any of the other thing, which is not just SharePoint or Microsoft 365, but I do go there, just get a gist of it.
Understood. Okay, very cool. And where can we find you?
I do have my social media handles onto LinkedIn. I'm on Twitter as well as I do have my YouTube as well. I can even post those links in the chat window. I'm not that much active onto the YouTube at least, but I just keep posting my recorded session URLs there.
Okay.
And then I do have my blog post URL, which is again in the chat window. And one
Yeah,
good thing
okay.
is that, yeah, Miss, at least this one is again customly built. This one is created with GitHub Pages and Jekyll. So
Hey, I'm just clicking
earlier,
on the link now. Okay, so you're not doing a WordPress here. This is a
correct. Miss, at least I had WordPress, so I took the basic subscription of WordPress. But one day it happened like my site was down for at least 4 to 5 hours. So I chased up with WordPress. I got my site up and running.
That's not
But
WordPress. That's your hosting provider. That's not WordPress.
yeah, true. Yeah, correct. Yeah, means at least it could be WordPress or the hosting provider. I know, but I just thought like probably I should have a better control over all those things. So that's the reason I shifted to the GitHub pages so that I can have my own repository wherein I will be able to control everything directly. I don't have to rely somewhere onto the domain provider or anything else. So even as of now, for example, even if my domain goes down, at least I will be able to post those GitHub pages directly, and then at least those are live.
Understood. All right. Nanddeep, thank you so much. Very educational. We'll record this and we'll get this up. We're actually now putting the podcast on SoundCloud. They're on my blog and they'll be in the Meetup and pushed on LinkedIn. But thanks so much, Nanddeep. And I know it's getting a little late where you are, so good night.
Thank you very much for inviting me
Pleasure.
here. Miss, it was a privilege, and I will say again thanks to Soho Dragon because you are kind of an supporter for us for most of the events that we host. So thank you very much for that generosity as well, because without your support, we won't be able to host those events.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that's the Indian team. Okay. All right. Thanks so much. Have a good night. Bye.
Yeah, same to you.